Hi there, air sign Libra. How are you? This is Carrie at wooingnature.life. I hope you're well. I am going to be reading for the month of May from the Sacred Earth Oracle. I'm also going to be reading from Carolyn Mace's Archetype cards. What a treat. Never had that happen before. And I'll also be reading from the Tarot of 1001 Nights to tell your story. And I will close the deal with the alphabet for lovers. And I'm not just doing love, romantic relationship kind of love. I'm also doing other kinds of love and relationship, particularly dealing with communication with our significant others, because we are with our significant others right now. So that's why I want to make sure that I'm not just focusing on romantic stuff, because we're all having to deal with our relationships right now because of the global health crisis and because we are in close proximity to our folks, whoever they are. And so communication becomes very important. So anyway, I'm going to read from Sacred Earth Oracle. I'll just pull two cards. Basically what I do is cut the cards, and whatever's on top, we roll with it. And you guys have, let's see, we have revision and we have repetition. Revision and repetition. So we'll start with repetition. Repetition, this is cycles. There's the cycles right there. Cycles of the moon. The moon represents cycles, or moves in cycles. Everything moves in cycles. So you have to think about your own cycles. You have to think about patterns that are repeated, or certain patterns that you find that you're repeating over and over again. You'll want to pay attention to that in the month of May. I'm seeing heart chakra energy right here, and the need to go back to review some things around the heart area, where your heart truly is. And I see for some of you guys are pretty distressed about certain things, probably things from the past, things that you haven't gotten over yet. And then that's also a part of these cycles, and it's a part of these patterns that we're talking about for you. You'll want to pay attention to the moon times in May, so check back in for the new moon and the full moon view, because that can give you an idea of where you need to be. But I really recommend that people do their connection to the lunar cycle, because when you do, it also puts you in touch with your intuitive side, and that's where we're trying to go here. If you're connected intuitively, and I'm connected intuitively, and we have a little tribe, and our tribe is connected intuitively, then we can begin to hear things in a different way than we have before, which is what's going to be needed as we're going into this new shift. Anyway, I digress. We've got so you want to look at your cycles. You want to look at patterns of thinking, patterns of action, things that repeat themselves in your life that you are like, oh my God, I can't do it another time. You just want to pay attention to that, and again, get in touch with your moon tides and your moon cycles, and we can help you with that. And then the other card is revision, and this has been coming up a lot for a lot of people. You are not alone. So some of the other people in the Zodiac, and then also just in general, we are all looking at doing some revisions, which are, of course, in play, because for a lot of people, because of the global health crisis that we've been going through, it has been a game changer for a lot of people in a lot of different situations, and that's what it was designed to do. So it's okay. What we need to do is go back and look at the plan that you had, look at your goals, look at your objectives, look at what you were strategizing, look at how you were maneuvering and moving toward your goals. You first have to ask yourself, is this still the goal? Is this goal still important to me? Because one of the things that we all got a chance to do is to examine our values, to examine what is meaningful to us and what is important to us, because the things that are truly important to us, we made sure that we were close to those things during the crisis. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And then for those who weren't able to do that, you really felt that, or you tried to make sure that you had that connection there. So we have been in a situation where we are able to understand what our core values really are and what is really most important to us, and we just have to remember that. But then that's a part of revising the plan. So now you got to move forward with a different plan. A lot of you are moving forward with something different, and those revisions are very important. They're very finite. The things that you're looking for, the things that need to be revised right now, are probably things you haven't thought about before, or things you may have thought about, but you kind of, pushed it to the side. So this is the time to do your revisions during the month of May. And then out of those revisions, there may be a new vision. Okay? All right. So just a couple of things for you to think about. Something to kind of have in the back of your mind as you are moving throughout the month. These are things that you'll want to, know that are happening and going on. All right, so we're moving on to Carolyn Mace. This is a surprise for me this month, folks, because I normally don't take Carolyn Mace out. I even tell people that I read privately, I don't take Carolyn Mace out unless you're really ready for her. Because when we start talking about, our connections, the people that we are around, even thinking about certain aspects of our own personalities, we have to, face the reality of how we're operating and how we're maneuvering, because that's the beginning of healing. So if you know that you've been sabotaging yourself and you've got an inner saboteur going on inside, the bad news is you're a saboteur. The good news is you can stop at any time. So, and there's ways to do that. And so that's the thing. So I'll be pulling 3 cards, just 3 for everybody. Just people. This could be people that you need to pay attention to. It could be people that are around you or surrounding you, their personality types. It could also be attitudes or personality types that you need to embody. It could also be just things to look out for or to be on the lookout for. And what I do is when the cards come in reverse, then I read the shadow side, because these cards have a shadow aspect as well as a light aspect. So if they come in reverse, I will read the shadow. And if they come in upright, I read them as the light attributes. Okay? Please forgive me. I don't have my glasses today, so I'm going to be all over these cards trying to make sure I can tell you what's going on. All right, so we have a shadow prince person around you, and the shadow is using power for self-aggrandizement. So you'll be wanting to pay attention for people who are using their power, using their access. They could be, people who are over you in a supervisory position. It could be a person who has certain things that you want access to, but you'll want to pay attention to them, because they may come like, like somebody that all of a sudden shows up on the white horse, and all this kind of stuff, but then in the real deal that they're out for self. Okay, so you want to be paying attention to that kind of energy, month of May. All right, we've got a king here. King is the enlightened, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in their charge or your charge, depending on where that is. Now, this to me is sort of like an interesting juxtaposition of energies and people, because on the one hand, you have somebody who may appear to be powerful, but they're really out for themselves. And then you have somebody who's more enlightened and more benevolent, who really is in a position of power, or really not just power, but leadership specifically. This is a leader type. Okay. Also, remember what I'm saying. These are things to think about if you are operating in this way, or, or if these are attributes that you need to embody for yourself, you can take it that way too. And then we have a shadow pioneer. The shadow pioneer, this one's going to be tough. Let's see. Compulsive need to keep moving on. The compulsive need to keep moving on. Okay. So the pioneer in the light, the way I'm interpreting this is that, this is a person who's adventurous, who wants to do new things, and who goes out on an adventure. This is somebody who does it compulsively, which means that at a certain point, this person needs to go somewhere and sit down. Okay? So if this is you, or if this is somebody around you, you'll want to pay attention to that energy as it's coming in. And the reason for knowing it is how to handle it. Because if you already know that this, some of this is already resonating with you, these may be people who are bothering you, irritating you, getting on your nerves, something terrible. This could be somebody who's right in your face, and guess what? You missed them because you weren't paying attention. It's just so that you will know that that's happening around you, and then you'll know how to deal with it, or you can come up with strategies about how to deal with some of the people who are operating with these kinds of energies around you. And there are strategies for it. So we can talk about that in your intuitive life management session. All right, so moving right along, I am reading from the Tarot of 1001 Nights. I love this deck because I consider it to be the storyteller's deck. It tells the stories, and it comes from the Arabian Nights, the stories about Ali Baba, and remember all that. So this is where this tarot comes from, and it's a really nice deck. If you're into decks, I recommend it, but I also recommend a magnifying glass, because the little images on here and the detail on here, you have to really know what you're doing. All right, so Libra, we've got a Nine of Swords here, which tells me that you are getting over or getting past a very draining period of time. You've been drained out. That energy has to go. That drained out energy has to go, and it has to go because you have things that you have to do, because again, you're at the end of a cycle. That's a number 9. Number 9 shows end of cycles. Remember we were talking about those cycles before? All right, so you are at the end of a cycle, and there's just, like some real exhaustive energy or something of that sort that's around you or near you. And your spirit guides are trying to help you with it, but you also have to be careful, because they're, that's energy, and it'll keep going, it'll keep going, it'll keep going. So you really have to be mindful about that. So get your rest, get your sleep, and set your boundaries. That's what you have to do. More than anything, it's about setting boundaries for you, Libra. You have to set your boundaries, okay? All right, so we've got the Queen of Wands in reverse here, which tells me that you are in some ways not feeling very confident, or lacking confidence in some kind of way. Queen of Wands is the most confident queen out there. So for all my queens, if you're not feeling confident, you need to get your yin up. You got to get your yin up. There may be a person around you who can help you with this, but you've got to be open, because this isn't somebody you probably would be open to, or open to listening to about this. But there is somebody in your cipher, in your area, that can help you with this, but you've got to be open to it. All right, we've got some open doorways. We've got some movement here. We've got some positives going on. You're coming in for the landing. This is kind of the moment that you've been waiting for, or it represents a victory of some sort. So even though you're coming to the end of this cycle, and we're talking about, setting your boundaries, you still have been victorious. You still have had some gains, and that's something to be thankful for. And also, it looks like open doorways, so there are some doors opening for you, and you'll be able to move. I've been getting this card a lot too in a lot of readings, but we've got power going on here, and the power to overcome. So that's what this energy is.